The Hawai'i Sports Radio Network on 95.1 FM and AM 760 presents Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani.
Good morning, beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Alongside Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Welcome to the show on this Aloha Friday. And, it's the final Friday, and then football season is officially all pow. As we know, Super Bowl 59 this Sunday, Chiefs, Eagles. As if you guys can see it, we are streaming live on our YouTube channel today because it's a very special Aloha Friday because it is Super Bowl Friday. So why not? So we usually only stream on Mondays, but we got a special one today on a Friday. So go and watch us on YouTube if you are able to, and like and subscribe. And we're going to have some fun today. I just figured maybe with the YouTube chat on a Super Bowl Friday, it would be a lot more fun and interactive for everybody to, come. And I don't think Caesar saw our memo that we posted. I only posted that we were going live like this morning. So Caesar's not active in the chat quite yet, but
he'll get here eventually, I'm sure.
But thank you for tuning in on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. We got a lot to get into today. Obviously, going to talk a lot of Super Bowl action and just get our final thoughts and predictions. Paul almost got baited into giving all of his information at the Sharks Weekly show yesterday, but didn't partake entirely as we wanted to save it all for today. I did give some of my thoughts on Super Bowl yesterday as I was joined by a good friend of mine for the hour, Mike Quesada. Again, LA native, and then moved out here to Hawaii because we knew each other from 24 Hour Fitness. He was the one that hired me at the time as the GM at 24 Hour Fitness in Pearl City, but now has his own Mexican food catering company. So you guys can look him up if you want to go and get some really authentic Mexican food. But I thought the fun thing that I kept pointing out, and he was talking about how he was appreciative that I kept saying he's an OG Kansas City Chiefs fan because he became a fan. Again, he grew up in the LA area, but became a fan when the San Francisco 49ers traded away Joe Montana to the Kansas City Chiefs. And ever since then, it was kind of like a stick-em to the 49ers, and he was cheering for the Chiefs ever since. So that was early 90s and stuck with them. So I can appreciate it because it does. I know all the young kids don't realize it, but the Kansas City Chiefs have been pretty bad for a majority of the time.
They were in the losers club like us for a really, really long time. So I'm like, you know what? If you're
an OG Kansas City Chiefs fan, I can appreciate it because people like Paul and I, we get it. Like if the Bears especially the Jets, like at least the Bears had some glimmers here and there. Somewhat recently just made the Super Bowl, like even though it seems so long ago, but more recently than the Jets. We are
approaching 60 years since our last appearance.
All right, so the Bears one isn't that long. It's like 20. So it's kind of long. But anyways, so I can understand and appreciate if you're going to be the OG like that. And on cue, Mama Heather said she's representing for Caesar, but then Caesar did chime in and said, "Aloha, y'all, just heard that we're doing the live show." So right on cue, again, our regular listeners and watchers to this show. Again, lots of Super Bowl talk. We'll get into some Rainbow Wahine basketball. Huge and nice win last night for the Rainbow Wahine. And of course, the men's volleyball are back in action today for the Hanaho against Stanford after going to 5 with the Cardinal on Wednesday in front of a massive crowd for a Wednesday night. So we'll let you guys hear from what head coach Charlie Wade had to say about that crowd. And just a huge shout out, over 5,000 in attendance, and it was a Wednesday. So we are hoping, and as Charlie said, the last time this happened on a weekend and they played Stanford, it was a little over 9,000. So can we get that much people in there today or
I'd be
tonight?
Even happy with just 8.
Yeah.
Just let's break
it's
8.
Already loud, right?
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's this ear-splitting level of cheering and, let's go Bows anytime that they need a boost. Now imagine 2,000 more people there. And imagine after that you still can have 2,000 more people there, right? We're ramping it up slowly. I understand that the fans are too. tonight would be a really, really great night to make your first appearance at the stand this season if you haven't quite made it out yet, because this team, one, very clearly they play off the energy of the crowd, and two, they're really fun. Like there's no other reason that you should need other than the fact that it is exciting, fun, high-flying, high-level volleyball, and there's always a chance that Hawaii will win no matter the opponent. So, I mean, that makes for a good night. I'll be there. I'll see you guys there, and hopefully we'll see the Rainbow Warriors continue their winning ways in February, though Stanford certainly put the scare in them on Wednesday.
And hopefully my guy doesn't get left hanging by Kurt Nusterer again, which is kind of funny.
Mr. Hangtime himself.
No? Self 5. But Kurt got the memo, and I am almost afraid for Mike now because he might get bear hugged by Kurt Nusterer instead on one. I don't know if Kurt could pick him up, so that might be, we'll see. But it's going to be, if you guys can't make it in, be sure to watch on Spectrum, because I can imagine there'll be some fun things that might happen. And especially if we got good vibes, Hawaii adjusts to how they played on Wednesday, and we able to see a much more or a less stressful game. Not a 5-setter, but a win is a win. And again, we'll talk about it a little later. But want to, of course, start off with some football. Super Bowl 59 this Sunday. Woo! Eagles and Chiefs, and the line still has not moved. The Eagles still your 1.5-point underdog. Plus 100 on the money line. We do have, if you guys can see it over here, we do have an Eagles helmet in our studio, and that is mainly because it is an autographed helmet by Marcus Mariota when he spent some time there in Philadelphia. So if you guys are wondering why we have the Philadelphia helmet on here, my friend did bring his Chiefs helmet into the studio yesterday, so it's kind of funny to have just so happen to have both helmets in here. It was pretty cool, but we are represented by the Eagles / Marcus Mariota helmet in the studio, and I thought, why not? Like, that's pretty cool that we've had this helmet. It's been sitting in like a box since our old studio because we just have to put up like a shelf so we can display all of the cool stuff we have. But for now, we have it. At least we have a lot of counter space, and you guys can see it. And you know what? That's kind of, it's giving me that Omen vibe where I'm like, I'm kind of leaning that way with Philadelphia. The more I think about it, it's weird because I know when these two teams, when they won their respective championships, and you're like, oh, we're going to go see this again 2 years later. But the more I think about it, I'm actually getting more and more hyped up for this game, just because, and we were talking about it yesterday, that they aren't the same. Yeah, they have the same significant pieces, obviously, on this team as they did in the couple of years ago. But they're really different in terms of just the coaching staff, and obviously offensively, the Eagles have Saquon Barkley and all of that stuff. And so I'm really hyping myself up on this, and because also this would probably be the few instances where I would have all of the confidence in the under, because I've talked myself into that, being that both sides have very good defensive coordinators, and I can imagine it being a very strategic football game. I mean, every game is strategic, but a lot of times with this level, you can rely on, like, hey, Patrick Mahomes will just make crazy throws. Saquon Barkley, just give it to him and run, but knowing how these teams are, and we'll actually talk about some of the prop bets. One of the prop bets that a lot of the experts are saying is like Saquon Barkley under in total rushing yards, that kind of stuff, because you're relying so much on the defense and the defensive coordinators in this game. And like I said, if you guys know me, I usually always talk about betting the over because it sucks when you're trying to cheer for less points scored. But the total is still at 48.5, and I really just believe this is going to be one of those lower scoring affairs, simply because both defenses are so strong, and the offenses, they can be stopped by each side of the defenses, if that makes sense. It seems so simplistic, but the more I think about it and the more I hype myself up about this game, I'm like, this is going to be a very like chess matchy type of game that will be very, I think, intriguing, especially for a lot of like football sickos like our Michael Liscaro, where it's like you just see the intricacies of all of like just the way that the defense sets up. So I think it's going to be really fun, especially not so much if you just want to go for the party. Again, usually the lower scoring games, it's not as fun for just casual fans, but I think football fans, and again, football sickos, I think this game might be quite fascinating.
Yeah. I've been really struggling with this game all week because both teams, I mean, this is the sign of a good Super Bowl, or the sign that you have two of the actual best teams in the league there, is that I've talked myself into each for multiple different styles of games, right? The last time these two teams played, it was the third highest scoring Super Bowl, I think, ever, or at least since the merger, and, whatever. So a lot of points went up in that one. Obviously, these are two very different teams from 2 years ago. You bring up the point of defense, right? And it's funny because I sit here and I think about Mahomes in the playoffs and just down in the fourth quarter, down the stretch, whatever. And it's like, it feels like the Eagles' defense, which has been the top defense in the league by yards given or yards allowed to opponents throughout the entire season. I think they averaged less than 280 yards allowed per game. It's going to be important that they show up. I don't know if you win a close game against the Chiefs. It feels like the margin for error is like so razor thin in those scenarios that you lose like 95 out of 100 times that you play that out, right? I mean, ask Bills fans how it feels when Patrick Mahomes is the guy who gets the ball last in a one-possession game, or even when he isn't.
I feel like that's a lot of teams have experienced that already,
But
whether
right.
it be regular season or playoffs.
So I sit here and I'm like, if the Eagles can get out, can that offense be complementary of the defense? Can the defense sack Patrick Mahomes? I think, honestly speaking, that's going to be the biggest thing that I watch for is the Eagles' pass rush. If they can get home against the Chiefs, I think it changes things completely. If the Chiefs keep Patrick Mahomes clean throughout the night, I don't see a world where the Eagles win. And I think the Eagles have a better overall roster, top down. That being said as well, I think there's something to be said about the experience playing in a Super Bowl as well, and multiple Super Bowls and multiple, like the Chiefs. I think there needs to be an emphasis put on winning, and while the Eagles have done a ton of winning, the Chiefs have done even more over the past 3 seasons specifically. You learn how to win close games. You learn how to take advantage of the pressure points, the turning points in games where it changes things completely. I think Saquon Barkley is the X factor, as he's been all year, right? He could have won MVP in my opinion last night. I know everybody's up in arms about Lamar and Josh Allen and blah 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 blah. Congrats,
Well, actually,
by the
I
way.
have that in the second segment. Yeah.
We'll talk about that, but Saquon has been phenomenal this year, a game changer in every way, shape, and form. I'm friends with a lot of Giants fans. It's been a rough year for them, right? He's the type of guy who, you mentioned, you almost get a gut feeling of the under in this game, and you hear pundits talk about, maybe take the under on Saquon Barkley rushing yards. Maybe, but also, what if he takes one 65 yards? What if the Eagles predict one correctly on a Spags blitz, and then all of a sudden Saquon takes 165 yards to the house, and that flips the game completely, right? He is such a dynamic player. He can change the score literally at any moment when he touches the ball. I don't know if the Chiefs have that player anymore, because they had Tyreek Hill. He's gone. They had Travis Kelce. He's out of his prime. I like their other guys. Rashee Rice has been out all year, right? Their other tight ends aren't as good as what Kelce was in his prime. Xavier Worthy's a fun gadget guy. End of the day, I just believe in Andy Reid and the Chiefs more.
That's
all of that.
But this is something that my friend pointed out yesterday, where I think the X factor is if the Eagles can stay healthy the entire game. Because that was something that he pointed out to me where, hey, everyone can talk about like the refs, but he said, I think people forget how lucky the Chiefs have been in terms of injuries suffered on the other team. I mean, we just saw it in the Super Bowl last year is what he brought up too. It's like a freak accident on the sideline, torn ACL, right? Takes out one of their main guys on defense on the 49ers. And like we had a 25-22 game last year, right? So a very close game, overtime. So, and then he's riddled off a list of all of the different times where the Chiefs were playing against other opponents that like got decimated by injuries, and like even though every time we get a scare that Patrick Mahomes is injured, the guy like has bionic ankles and he's just fine like on the next play, right? So it's weird because I think for like the Eagles that might be the X factor, and could we see an entirely healthy team on the other side that is able to go up and up with the Kansas City Chiefs? But I was like, that's kind of interesting. Like, as long as everyone stays healthy, and like if we look at what the total is this year, 48.5, and then you have last year's game would have gone under. So that's why I'm kind of thinking it'll be the similar vibes. Not too long ago, you got the Rams-Bengals game that was 23-20 final score. So I'm like, you mentioned Saquon, and I just think the X factor will be if the entire Eagles team, nobody gets hurt, which is asking a lot because in these big games, there's always going to be at least like one injury, significant
it's also just
injury.
a brutal sport.
Yeah. But I'm like, I never really considered that how lucky, and it sucks to say that they're lucky because of injuries to the other team, but a fact is the facts. Like the
Anybody
other side has gotten lucky.
Will tell you that to win, you need to be really,
It's
really
a
good.
little bit of luck.
But you also need to have some luck in there.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
Well, that's the saying, right?
Think about the Rainbow Wahine, why they're on a 10-game win streak.
Well, that's who was it? Was it
Fullerton that they
Santa
were just
Barbara?
at or something now
but the
2
one
weeks
before
ago?
with that one girl that like missed the layup,
Yeah,
like
it
right
wasn't
there.
that. I thought that was Fullerton, wasn't it?
No, it was the other team before that. Anyways, we'll go look it up.
I was going to say, now you're going to make me look it up.
Well, and we got to take a break anyway. So when we come back, we'll talk about some of like the NFL honors and all that, Hall of Fame, and yeah, who won all of the things. So we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake up in the den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Forget everything that you thought you knew.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network and streaming live on our YouTube channel. These are asking if we've ever interviewed Marcus Mariota on the show. Not on the show, but we've had some
yet.
interview with that. He would
We'll
be
get
like
there eventually.
He'd be like in studio worthy guests.
Yes.
We'll have our people call his people and see if we can make it happen. He says, I love Marcus Mariota. Everybody does, of course. Marcus Mariota and Chip Kelly are one of the reasons why I root and support the Oregon Ducks. That and them having local boys from Hawaii as their QBs, obviously. And Chip Kelly now with Vegas, the Vegas Raiders. So
Yes,
we can see, I know a lot of people were speculating, like, could we see Marcus go back to Las Vegas, which would be kind of interesting because, yeah, we'll see what happens with them. But I wanted to get into some of the other NFL things going on. I saw the funniest stuff yesterday because if you guys don't know, Bill Belichick, former head coach of the New England Patriots, has a very, very young girlfriend. I think she's like 22 or something. Obviously, they were there in attendance, and people were like, because she was wearing one of his, I guess, Super Bowl rings, people were like, is that like the ring for was that the O2 ring, the year that she was born? Jesus. And I was like, oh my gosh. Sometimes this app that is Twitter or whatever is actually kind of funny, and the reasons why I love to be on the the reason I can't pry myself away is because sometimes you guys out there are just so funny, and you just kind of laugh about stuff like that after a while. But anyways, last night, and the reason why they were out together was because it was the awards, the NFL Honors Awards, and the winners that were announced. Most Valuable Player, presented by Invisalign. Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback. I don't think it was too much of a surprise. I know Paul was kind of mentioning or alluding to some things when it comes to the player of the year. It was kind of interesting because Josh Allen, though, did have the second shortest odds to win the MVP prior to the season starting. If you guys sprinkled a little bit on Josh Allen to win, you would get it at 8-1 odds. Second shortest behind Patrick Mahomes, who we know did not have anything close to an MVP season this year. And that's kind of the scary thing about the Chiefs, is that Patrick Mahomes had nowhere near an MVP year, and yet the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. If that's any indication of just how good Andy Reid and just the game planning and everything else that makes Kansas City what they are today, is Patrick Mahomes not an MVP, not even close. Like, everyone kind of talked about that, and yet here we are. We're talking about the Chiefs in the Super Bowl again.
Better balance of their team this year.
Gosh,
that's for sure.
That's crazy. Can I have that, please, for Chicago?
You mentioned before something about quarterbacks and starting quarterbacks. I remembered an article I had to go back and look at for Jaron.
Got it.
That's why I'm over here.
Yeah,
sorry.
MVP, just go through this real quick, and I'll kick it to you, Paul. So MVP, Josh Allen. Coach of the Year, Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings. Comeback Player of the Year, Joe Burrow, which was an interesting one. And Joe Burrow actually had the shortest odds to win MVP prior to the season at 2-1. Kevin O'Connell was 5-1 with the second shortest odds behind, any guesses? Dan Quinn. No surprise there, where
Makes
it's
sense.
like, yeah, okay, that could have gone either way, honestly, like considering the year that the Commanders had. Obviously, speaking of the Commanders, no surprise, the AP Offensive Rookie of the Year, Jaden Daniels, the quarterback of the Commanders, and actually had the third shortest odds to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. So before the season, odds were 9-1 behind Caleb Williams, who had the shortest odds, sad face, and Marvin Harrison Jr. was up there in front of Jaden Daniels in terms of preseason predictions and the odds makers.
Oh, that Maserati Marv hype.
Oh, man. Offensive Player of the Year, you got Saquon Barkley, well-deserved with Saquon. Patrick Surtain got Defensive Player of the Year, and AP Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse. Shout out Michael Iscaro and his Los Angeles Rams. But, all right, kicking it to you. Wait, oh, no, I got to mention this one more. I don't know why I'm saying this, but anyways. Moment of the Year. Maybe I'm like a masochist or something. I'm just going to say
I haven't seen what it was, but I've got an imagination as to what it could be.
Next Stats, Moment of the Year. Commanders quarterback Jaden Daniels game-winning Hail Mary throw versus the Chicago Bears. I just had to say it just because it was, I'm like, it's fun. And honestly, I go back to that play because never believe the game is over, because that video circulating of, I forgot who it was that was playing back there, basically shushing the crowd, didn't pay attention, and he is the major reason why that even happened. But anyways,
completely flipped the season on its head for both teams. Totally.
To you, Paul.
I was a little surprised about Josh Allen winning, I'll be honest. More because of the awards that have come out previously now, where he wasn't first team All-Pro. He wasn't there were previous, awards that were given out, and since they first gave out like the first team All-Pro stuff, I think that started in the 50s, end of 50s. There have been 3 players now, including Josh Allen, to accomplish like said feat, right? Where he gets an MVP award despite not being first team All-Pro. That's why I was mostly surprised by it, not because Josh Allen doesn't deserve it. Josh Allen deserves it in every way, shape, and form. I mean, as somebody who was proudly a Bills hater throughout the year, Casey, I hope you're enjoying the offseason. I said how much worse this team was, right? Where the high-end talent wasn't necessarily there, comparatively speaking, to the last couple of seasons. And despite that, they go to the AFC Championship, they go on, they fight, and realistically, they're 1 yard away from going to the Super Bowl. Josh Allen knocks out, and I know it's a regular season award and blah, 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 blah. The Bills were phenomenal during the regular season. I mean, they were the Chiefs' lone loss during the actual time that I know they lost the last week and whatnot, but that doesn't count. So I was a little surprised, but happy for him, happy for Josh Allen. Really like the guy just as a player, as a person from the outside looking in. Easy to root for. I'm sure Bills fans were super excited about it. Kevin O'Connell, super dope. He deserves it as well. I know a rough end to the season for the Vikings, but we talked about nobody expected them to be anywhere close to what this was this year, and then he almost got Sam Darnold paid $45 million. So yeah, it's pretty darn good job by him. Jared Verse, shout out to the University of Albany, who Hawaii played 2 years ago now. Is that, not this past season, but the year before that, because that's actually where Jared Verse was before Florida State. So FCS to FBS to NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year. Congratulations to him. And as you said, to Michael Lascaro, as his team somehow rebuilt that defensive line after Aaron Donald retired in the blink of an eye, overnight, whatever you want to say. Joe Burrow, actually a comeback player of the year award winner. This is something in some sports that I don't always love who they give it to, because they don't actually come back from stuff. It's like why I wanted Damar Hamlin to win it, right? He came back from literally dying on the field, and then whatever. Joe Burrow comes back from injuries and then has a phenomenal year and almost led the Bengals, who were putrid outside of really him and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, almost led them to the playoffs, snuck them into the playoffs in the back door, so happy for him as well. Saquon Barkley, I mentioned it. He's the offensive player of the year, and honestly speaking, I think he should have been the MVP. From year over year, there's a reason I thought that the Eagles wouldn't be as good this year, and it wasn't because I didn't believe in Saquon Barkley. I thought it would take time for people to mesh together. I thought it would take time for some of the younger players that were stepping in for the older players from the last Super Bowl run that have retired. I thought it would take some time for them to step into those roles. It didn't. And part of that is because Saquon helped them all gel from day one. His dynamic ability changes the offense completely for them, where, yeah, you had to worry about the tush push before, but now you have to worry about him going 60 yards every time he touches the ball. So he was phenomenal this year. He's excellent in the running game, passing game, whatever it is that you want. He has been as valuable a player as you can ask for if you are a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So, like I said, Josh Allen, completely deserving. I thought Lamar Jackson might have ended up winning it. At the end of the day, you guys know where my heart lies, and I think that also, I just think we've made it too much of a quarterback award. Like, I think it's perfectly okay to just give somebody else.
As much as you talk about Saquon, I'm looking at the general odds, and this is VegasInsider.com that kind of compiles everything out there. And again, this is the extensive list of NFL MVP opening odds, and there's a plethora of players. Pretty much every single quarterback on an NFL team is on here with odds. As I mentioned, that Josh Allen had the second shortest odds at 8-1 behind Patrick Mahomes at plus 650. But Saquon Barkley is nowhere on here. The only two players, so the only running back on here is Christian McCaffrey at, 100-1. And then the only other non-quarterback on this opening MVP odds, I just saw it. Oh, wide receiver Justin Jefferson. And wide receiver Tyreek Hill. So just 3 players out of, I don't know, maybe this looks like 20 something players on here for the opening market. Yeah, it's again, and I'm sure in other markets or other books, there's probably odds for every single player, and Saquon's probably on there. But like I said, NFL or Vegas Insider kind of just has like a good compilation of just your general amount of odds. And yeah, only Christian McCaffrey being the only running back, and then you got 2 wide receivers. Other than that, out of like 25, 30 players listed on here with
They're
odds.
all QBs.
All quarterbacks, yeah. And no Saquon Barkley.
It doesn't need to be that way. I don't know why we do things that way, because I understand that quarterback is one of the most valuable positions in sports and blah, 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 blah. Just name it the Quarterback of the Year award then.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do the MVP thing
the fact
anymore.
that like Bryce Young has odds next to his name,
Right,
like
it's
really
stuff like that.
he's going to be, and you don't have someone like Saquon Barkley going to another team, but you have, Bryce Young, obviously like longest shot along with Russell Wilson, like they're at the very, very bottom. But still, you have Will Levis is on here.
It's like, I didn't realize how ridiculous it would have to be. Like, Saquon, if we want to go through his season this year, he's like let's see, I have it right here, the 9th player to ever reach 2,000 rushing yards in a season. He finished 100 yards shy of the single season rushing record. And that's partially because he opted out of the regular season finale against the Giants, who I'm sure he would have had a little extra motivation to go against, especially for the record to close out the year. 7 60-plus yard runs. That's the most in a single season ever. This guy has been as dynamic, as valuable, as great an addition as you could possibly ask for. That is the only reason why I'm planting my flag so much. Josh Allen deserved it. Lamar Jackson also deserved it. Saquon Barkley deserved way more discussion than he got.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will pause our NFL chatter for just a second, and then we'll get into some University of Hawaii women's basketball discussion. Actually, excuse me, men's volleyball. I was like, women's basketball is hour number 2. So stick around for hour number 2.
Stick around, yeah.
Got to stick around for hour number 2. We'll get into some men's volleyball chatter when we come back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
All right. Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Turn it up loud. I know you're wondering how. I got that wow. Here I go, coming.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den alongside Paul Brecht. I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for tuning in this and every weekday morning on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network from 8 to 10 and streaming live on our YouTube channel every Monday. But every now and then, like today, we will stream on YouTube other days as well. So thank you to you guys who are listening and watching. And that is why you are the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. And feel free to comment and text us at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481 if you guys want to get in on any of the conversation. All right, want to switch gears. We'll get back to some NFL chat in the second hour because there's still a lot more to get to, including we didn't even talk about the Hall of Fame class and the potential, or not the potential, but the many players that are up for the first ballot Hall of Fame list next year, which is crazy because I know some of the chatter is Eli Manning not making it on the first time on the ballot, but next year's class is loaded. So we got to kind of talk about that a little later, but wanted to get to some local sports as the University of Hawaii men's volleyball team Aloha Friday back in action against Stanford, but recapping what happened on Wednesday night. Woo! What a fun one in the stand in front of a loud crowd of just over 5,000 people. Looking forward to everybody that's coming out tonight for even more people and more fun. Almost like a pre-party to the Super Bowl party that's going to be on Sunday. You guys want to be out there at the stand. But Hawaii defeating number 9 Stanford 23-25, 25-20, 25-19, 20-25, and then 16-14. Another one where they made us sweat a little bit, but hopefully knowing this team, they're able to make the adjustments that need to be made, and we'll see what happens tonight. But before we talk about it a little bit more, here is some post-game and what head coach Charlie Wade, along with Kurt Nusterer and Tread Rosenthal, had to say following that match.
They got slapped around pretty good last week by Irvine, and we were obviously on the road in some real emotional matches. You always worry a little bit about how that's going to be a quick turnaround. And we traveled back Sunday, just didn't really practice Monday, a little light, and yesterday short practice obviously, and it seems like we can play really good for spurts, and it's just maintaining it, where we're at right now, where something we got to get better at. Like I said, I think we're good enough to be the best team. We're just not that team often enough right now. So something we'll continue to work on, and the positive, and it seems like we've said this a handful of times, is that we're able to find a way to win when we're not playing well. Obviously the crowd I think helped tonight, but we did the same thing last week on the road. So and it's not like statistically we're just garbage. We're just not at that level, where we really expect to play like one of the best teams each and every night. And we're kind of doing it for a set here, a set there, and I'm hopeful that by the time we get to March and April, we'll be more consistent.
What do you guys think of today's crowd? A really good crowd for a Wednesday, and what do you think that means for Friday's atmosphere?
Yeah, it really is amazing the kind of people that are coming out and the number of people that are coming out and supporting us on a Wednesday. Can't be more grateful and humbled by that. And like I said, last year when we played these guys on the Friday night, there were 9,000 people there. So it'd be awesome if we could get near that number on Friday. This probably adds a little intrigue, gets people interested in it. So, looking forward to, playing in front of a good crowd again on Friday.
Kirby was asking about the crowd and how you get your feet on it. You had a point in that Thursday, I believe, where you had a good service run to kind of take over that set. What was it working for you?
The crowd was huge support. I think, other than that, if you look at the game, I didn't really contribute a whole lot outside of that. And we always talk about justifying your existence. And if I'm going to play that mediocre in all other aspects of the game, I feel the need to at least contribute in one way to stay out there. I feel like in Provo, I wasn't doing anything offensively or from the service line in particular. So, just got a lot of blocks. And today was, one service run that I think helped the team out. But going forward, it's going to have to be a lot better on all fronts to make the team better.
You also contributed with your defense, made a couple nice digs there.
Yeah.
What was it like,
there's some really great serving subs out there that play a lot better defense than me. I'm just trying to stay in there. So.
Yeah, Kurt, what do you think it is about this team that you guys keep pulling out matches like this?
We're young, we got a lot of energy, and I really think we have so much talent. We saw a lot of guys coming in. We've seen a lot of guys play this year. Because last year it wasn't really the case. This year we have so much depth at really every position. And I think we have a lot more of that this year than last year. So being able to pick and choose who's going to go in and make an impact when you know that you're not really skipping a beat is kind of nice. So Kangon come in today, do a great job. Louis been doing a phenomenal job. So I think the ability to turn to guys like that to help out when our starters are playing tough, it makes things a lot easier.
Can you talk a little bit about Louis' game tonight, or just his growth in general? We always knew he could attack. He's a high flyer. He gets the crowd going, but it seems that his reception has improved. It seems that he's contributing even more at the service line at times. Can you talk a little bit about him?
Yeah, I mean, he's another guy who's played a lot of volleyball. He's been in the national team program for years. He's played with Heno for like 10 years or something, they said. So, I think when he came last year and he was just trying to do way too much, and the best thing about him right now is watching him just kind of modulate, and not just have to go full throttle the whole time, where he can control himself from the service line and attacking. He's pretty good. I'm looking here to see where he ended. Because he was over 90% again. He finished at 83%. Missed that one late. Three service errors in 5 sets. Served the ball 18 times. So, over the last 3 matches, he's probably right at 90%, which is really good.
And Kurt, we talked a little bit about the crowd. I'm a little curious about when you're kind of doing the back and forth with the crowd. Are you trying to get them fired up, or are you gaining fire kind of from them? Is it a mutual relationship there?
Yeah, it's a pretty symbiotic relationship. There's nothing like having 6,500 people in your gym on a Wednesday. It's just another testimony to how special a program this place is. Nowhere else in the country can you do that, and that's the reason a lot of us play here. It's a big reason that this program will continue to be successful.
And that was the University of Hawaii men's volleyball postgame following their 5-set win over Stanford on Wednesday. And again, we get to run it back today. It's going to be a fun night at the Stand, and I hope we get at least close to 10,000 in there, which would be really, really fun.
Pack it out.
And I think I was talking to you guys about this, Paul, like in our group text, and I was mentioning it before, where it would be really exciting, and I am begging for that storyline where if Hawaii wins today, like barring anything like something, all things would have to go wrong for Hawaii to lose on the road trip before coming back to play Irvine. So if they beat Stanford today, they'll by all accounts be undefeated when they are set to host Irvine at the end of the month, and that storyline will be epic. Like welcoming the best player in the country to the Stand. Both teams undefeated, likely, because Irvine is just a juggernaut in itself. And
They're
Hawaii,
unreal, man.
Hawaii already getting that test, playing at Provo against BYU was like test number 1, the big test, playing against a quality opponent in Stanford Wednesday and today. And should they be able to escape Stanford tonight again, UC Irvine will definitely be the biggest test, especially because they have a lot of their, again, we would talk about Heno a lot, and he's player of the year for a reason. Like if you guys are all volleyball fans and you watch him play, it's like, he's basically like a Keone Thim, but like the size of a D1 volleyball player, right? Like he's just the way that the guy jumps, hits the ball. It's like, he's incredible. And Hawaii, the block is kind of, inconsistent. If there's anything with this team, it's like the block is what really worries me. With like defensively, obviously, Eleu Choi is going to do what he does. And we mentioned kind of a chuckle there with Kurt Nusterer getting some digs as well, right? So the digging, I feel like we're good. It's just the blocking gets a little worrisome. And when you're going up against a juggernaut of an offensive team like Irvine is, this will be a true test, especially for these younger players that we talk about all the time, right? You haven't really seen. I feel like there's been kind of a dip, but then it's almost like they switched off. Like we see Louis Sakonoko coming on, but then Adrian Rohr seems like he's taking a little bit of a dip than what we saw in the beginning. So it's kind of like they're still all figuring it out. We see Ofek Hazan contribute as well. But, it's not like it's just the consistency that you'll get with a young and a new team to be expected. And then we always talk about Kurt Nusterer, and Kurt, my guy, he's just, he could have the best game ever. And maybe it's because he's been playing for Charlie for so long that it's like, well, I don't know, it wasn't that good, and
it could
be better. And it's like, wait, you just had that awesome, throwing up the hearts everywhere. You got Milan throwing up the heart-shaped hands to everybody in the crowd and everything like that. And then you go into the post game, and you would have thought Hawaii lost to Stanford.
Oh my God, dude.
Kurt's demeanor.
Like a funeral in there. I'm like, did we win? I'm like, did I miss the end of this match? Did I
what's
misread what happened? Because it wasn't even just Kurt. Even Tread seemed pretty peeved, and Charlie's certain. I understood.
Charlie's
Charlie.
Always like that.
Understood Charlie. Charlie was certainly not happy with their performance. They had almost, I think, 40 errors as a team or something along those lines. It's just, it was funny. I was like, didn't we win? It feels like we lost. But no, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Really, really big matchups upcoming, and still a big matchup later tonight. Before that, obviously, the alumni game, super, super fun. I think, if I remember correctly, Charlie mentioned in the postgame, or not in the postgame, after the postgame to us, that I think there might be enough for 3 teams for the alumni game. They got a good amount of folks to come back. So if you get a chance, go out to that. And then, obviously, 7 o'clock tonight, it's a whiteout, folks. Make sure that you wear white. Fill the stand. Like you mentioned, Koo, hopefully we get almost 10,000 people making it look like it's snowing here in Hawaii, and it'll be a good time. It'll be really, really fun, should be really loud, and hopefully just not as sweaty and stressful as it was on Wednesday night.
Yeah, please don't do that to us. But do what happened in BYU. You stress us out in the first match, and then the second match, it's like, whoa, we'll just cruise on it. But no, Stanford again, number 9 for a reason. Quality team, and this team that Hawaii has is still really, really young and figuring itself out as we go. So that's why it's important to at least have these big tests before you have to play Irvine, and then just hit that Big West Conference. And then luckily they'll learn a lot about themselves and see where they really stack up when they play Irvine coming up at the end of the month, and then they go into the Outrigger Volleyball Invitational where they play more ranked teams, and Ball State and USC learned even more about hopefully learn and adjust from the Irvine game into the Outrigger Invitational. And then you kind of go into Big West play, and you have a pretty significant stretch before you have to go to or play Long Beach State, the other top team in the conference. So a lot of time, I kind of like how the schedule is has shaped up for the University of Hawaii because of the youth on this team, and just slowly increasing the quality of opponents that they've faced throughout this year so far, and how like I said, Irvine and Long Beach State are kind of on opposite ends of the Big West schedule, so that hopefully in between there they can figure things out, because that Irvine game, and like I always joke about, we're allowed to look ahead. The team can't look ahead past Stanford tonight, but we can. And I'm looking ahead at that Irvine game is going to be insane. But hope to see you guys tonight first. And as Paul said, it's a whiteout. So yeah, hope to see you at the stand. We'll be back to close out hour number 1 on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht. Just got a few minutes left here in hour number 1, but we still got a lot to get into in hour number 2 as we are streaming live on our YouTube channel. Special Super Bowl Friday, Aloha Friday, Pauhana Friday, Hanaho Friday when it's men's volleyball, a bunch of stuff. It's Friday, people, so we are streaming live. Normally it's every Monday, but every now and then we like to have a little fun, and mahalo for tuning in, even if you're just tuning in on radio or on our YouTube channel. So shout out to you guys. We'll, I guess, close out with a little bit of a football chat. We were talking about Saquon Barkley earlier, and someone texted in that the New York Giants gifted the Eagles. Yep, pretty much. I mean, when they're looking at it, but I mean, that's, as Paul and I are, you guys know, we're fans of organizations that have been still trying to figure themselves out for a while now. And that's what happens. Like, that's just proof that just because certain players are the best players in the world, it just depends on who your coaching is, the organization. And that's why we always have to sing the praises of the Kansas City Chiefs and what Andy Reid has done over there, because, the New York Giants very much too. So both the New York teams are still going through those struggles.
I am well aware. And you know what? I'm going to remind all Giants fans, you guys have been worse than us for the last 10 years.
You just had to throw in the
I have
the
to
jab.
throw it in there.
But it's, oh my gosh. And that's why I'm glad the coaching change in Chicago was made and everything is going to get restructured now, because you don't want to waste the talents of Caleb Williams. You want him to have closer to a year that Jaden Daniels did, but that's why there's good coaching there in Washington. So when it comes to having the best players in the world, the next thing is just the coaching that goes into it and the organization. But we didn't really mention the Pro Football Hall of Fame class this year. We got Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Antonio Gates, and Sterling Sharp are the 4 guys making it in. And I guess now the debate is not over, but I feel like even just like when he just retired, and I'm talking about Eli Manning, it was always, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? Is he going to be a Hall of Famer? So now missing out on the first ballot. Ironically, I posted that on my Instagram, where my Facebook memories popped up when I was in Vegas for the 2012 New York Giants win over the New England Patriots, where that's the crazy I feel like Eli Manning should have gone in just because he was able to take down you're able to take down twice the greatest quarterback with multiple rings. And we talk about good coaching and Bill Belichick and the New England Patriots, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick era. And yes, not once, but twice. And I get it. Like, people always want to have the debate about the numbers. And I'm not the professional that makes these decisions. But just from a pure, we always talk about eye test in sports. I mean, come on, man. The guy took down, he was the starting quarterback that took down the juggernaut of the New England Patriots twice. And yes, you can say what you want about the catch and everything like that on the helmet, whatever. Someone has to throw the football.
I was going to say,
so
the ball's got to be placed first to make said catch.
Anyways, we should probably take a break before, because I know we're going to write it.
I suppose.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue our conversation, NFL chatter, and look at the prop bets for the Super Bowl. A lot of fun coming up in hour number 2. So we'll be right back on the Hawai'i Sports Radio Network.
back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, hour number 2. I'm Kule Agbayani alongside Paul Brecht, giving you the Celsius cheers there. Yes, cheers, everybody. We got the coffees up, we got the Celsiuses up, and we are up on YouTube. Mahalo for tuning in and watching and listening on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, hawaiisportsradio.com. And even if you're listening on demand, wherever you get your podcasts, we appreciate all of you guys. And we're going to have a fun little hour number 2, get back into some NFL talk in just a little bit. But also coming up, we will chat some University of Hawaii women's basketball and let you hear from what head coach Laura Beeman had to say after the game last night. I mean, a phenomenal win. Who was I telling? Was I telling Kelsey? I was telling somebody. I was like, well, kind of should have won by a little more points next time, ladies. No, just kidding. But it was a phenomenal performance, and Hawaii was without the services of Lili Wahine Kapu. So even more so, you're like, man, we were able to win by that much, and we did not have one of our best players on the court last night because, again, another one is sick. Like,
I was
come
a little
on.
worried about it, too, at the start. I was like, wait a second, why is Lily not in the lineup?
Yeah, again, I'm putting out the bad signal. Anybody knows or can like get a cleaning crew to like start disinfecting the locker rooms but of all things, at least it's now and not when it matters in the tournament.
Get it out of the way in February, so the immune system
is good to go.
Built up by March. See, this is good coaching by Laura Beeman and the staff. They understand. No, kidding, guys, but seriously,
I'm going to go in for that.
Can we stop with the sickness and in sickness and in health, guys? Let's focus on the health side.
But
of
everyone,
things.
I mean, we were kind of talking about
Beeman was sick earlier in the week,
and then we
too.
were talking about how Stephen Tsai was at volleyball, and we're like, what is Stephen Tsai doing here? And it's like, oh, Billy is sick, so he has to cover for Billy for the Star Advertiser, and it's like, man, it's trickling down. Paul, do not get sick. We need you.
I trust. Even if I did get sick, I would have to be like on my deathbed. I don't know if the beautiful people know this. I didn't miss a day of school, K through 12, like a single day, period. I'm a big old nerd. It's me. It's not because I didn't get sick, and it's not because I didn't feel poor on some days. But I was going to be there, and that foundation's kind of been built into me now. So unless I am on my deathbed, you beautiful people cannot get rid of me. Sorry.
Especially next week because we have the boys basketball championship.
It's
so
crazy
I'm like,
week.
we need you next week, especially Paul. Come on now. And there's all other things going on, but unfortunately, I was not like Paul, and I missed school quite often. And that was actually sometimes with the help of my parents because we would play hooky every now and then. So perfect attendance. It was more about honor roll, which was fine. But I think one time we even played hooky too, and then we went to go adopt my puppy at the Humane Society.
That's a great day. See, I was just trying to beat my dad. My dad my dad missed one day, K through 12. And of course, he told me, and to this day, I still don't know if that's, I guess, necessarily true. I've never had a reason not to believe him on that. But, like, I guess theoretically, he could have told me. Because he told me when I was in kindergarten, he's like, yeah, I never missed a day of school, K through 12. So my competitive hind end was like, I'm never missing a day.
Ooh, you're lucky.
So imagine it was just a ploy by my dad the whole time. He, like, missed, like, 7 days, like, per year or whatnot. And it's just like, idiot.
He got you, Paul. Now you're like, everything I thought I knew.
It's all a lie.
It's all a lie. Yeah. Those are the fun times at elementary school. It's like, we're going to play hooky today. I'm like, okay.
Right. And when you're a kid, you're like, okay.
I don't have to go to school. And my parents are
right. My parents are telling me I'm not going to school.
Let's go to the Humane Society instead. I mean, what kid wouldn't want to go adopt a puppy instead of go to school? This one, of course, everybody. Yeah. Oh my gosh. So funny. Do as I say, not as I do. Totally telling on my parents right now.
I think the statute of limitations. I don't think Mililani can, write you up anymore or anything along those lines.
Mililani was a different story.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Oh, so women's basketball.
I was like, oh gosh, Mililani. Especially when I could drive and before they had the fence around the whole thing, and like the trick was you park in like the backside by the rec center, and you could go to your car easily and just leave. so bad. And then though, if you missed class, you had to make sure you had to hijack the voicemail that would go to your parents about you missing school or class. So
it's all one big ploy.
again, statute of limitations totally passed. I'm coming up on this year. I'm coming up on my 20-year reunion, so it passed.
Now you
so
can tell the stories, right? It's like Shaq telling the stories about his college
or
recruitment
The Rock.
era, right?
The Rock always talks about how he. Okay, all right, I feel better. The Rock talks about.
We're fine.
I was like, skipping high school is nothing compared to like stealing from 7-Eleven. So I guess
chill.
we're good. We're
fine.
But everyone on the show knows that I'm not a fan of school, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise that look, my car is right there. Let me just hop in it and leave for just a second. All right, getting back to sports and football. It's a little too much sharing about me, but Paul is the angel in here. Obviously, good job, Mama Heather.
Like that.
But I don't know. I've never been shy to tell you guys I've been a little kolohe growing up. So luckily my dad was very strict, because if he wasn't, with my dad being strict and me still being kolohe, I don't know what would have happened if he wasn't strict, because that's just going to go in a whole other direction of life. But anyways, getting back to some of the NFL talk, and we were mentioning this about like Eli Manning missing out on the first time ballot Hall of Famer, but this is interesting because you look at the class of 2026 for the first time eligible. Like, this is an extensive list, and who is going to miss out? So some of the players on here, Larry Fitzgerald, all around Hall of Famer, good guy too. Like, Larry Fitzgerald is like, did his thing on the football field, but just a good guy. Like, everything that people say about him and things that he did. I mean, he went back to school to get his degree because he promised his mom, like all of these little things that Larry Fitzgerald has done is like, man, can he get Hall of Fame?
Talk about
people?
angels.
Yeah.
That dude is like, if I was a Cardinals fan, if I was an Arizona Cardinals fan, I could not be more proud that is the guy that, and maybe this is different for other people. When it comes to Arizona Cardinals lore, for me, nobody pops up first ahead of Larry Fitzgerald.
Mm-hmm.
That is Mr. Cardinal. That is Mr. Arizona Cardinal, Mr. whatever the franchise. So I concur. Hall of Fame player, sure. Hall of Fame person, even more so.
Mm-hmm. So Larry Fitzgerald, when we talk about quarterbacks, Drew Brees on here, does he become a first ballot Hall of Famer? Again, we mentioned Eli Manning missing out, even though I disagree. And I know there's been debate ever since he retired, but I'm like, you're going to beat Tom Brady and the Patriots like twice in the Super Bowl. That's whatever the stats say. That alone, I think, should just get you in there, like as a first ballot Hall of Famer, being the quarterback of the Giants during those times. But could Drew Brees be one? Obviously, he won a Super Bowl. I think he's another one that's just a testament of not like just because you're maybe not built like a stereotypical quarterback, you can still ball. And Drew Brees, phenomenal to watch for the Saints. Another quarterback on here, Phillip Rivers, eligible next year. I wouldn't be surprised if he misses out. He's
closer to so I would put Drew Brees in the more surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, and Phillip Rivers closer to the might need a couple of tries similar to Eli. I also agree, though, by the way, I thought Eli was a little bit snubbed. I'm a little bit biased, obviously, because I'm from New York. I appreciate the lore, even though I'm not a Giants guy. But even so, I think, to me, the Hall of Fame oftentimes is, can we tell the story of the sport without you? And if the answer to that question is no, then there is a very good case for you to be a Hall of Famer. And I'm not saying, oh, you made one great play. Like, that's not to say, oh, Plaxico Burress should be in the Hall of Fame or stuff like that. But Eli Manning threw 12 touchdowns to 1 interception in one of those Super Bowl runs. I know people want to be like, oh, he was a mediocre regular season quarterback. He put up a lot of big numbers on a lot of mediocre Giants teams who had decent players, but not necessarily great players, right? Victor Cruz was a very good player. Was he ever a top 3 receiver in the NFL? Mario Manningham was a real solid guy. Was he ever a top 10 receiver in the NFL while he played for the Giants? I don't really know if that's true, right? Like, I sit here and I think about it where I consider Eli a Hall of Famer, so I hope in the end of the day he does end up getting in. Phillip Rivers, I think, is in a similar bucket, but just he didn't necessarily have the exact same end of his career. He didn't have the Super Bowls and whatnot. He has the longevity, but it's like, I mean, the Chargers were always the second round out. They're a divisional round out, right?
Yeah. And when we talk about the Chiefs, we always talk about how Travis Kelce is a future Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Well, one of the tight ends on here, though, former Cowboys tight end Jason Witten. Is he going to be a first-timer or wait a couple of years? I mean, Jason Witten was definitely one of my favorite players. When I go to other stadiums and games when my team's not playing, I like to buy like either a shirt or a jersey of like my favorite player on said home team, and that's what I did when I went to Dallas and went to a Cowboys game, as I couldn't get myself to buy a Dallas gear, but I was like, you know what? I'll get a Jason Witten t-shirt because I can appreciate how good he is and how much he contributed to the Dallas Cowboys. And he's just one of my favorite. He's like for like maybe new football fans, he was kind of like the Travis Kelce at one point, like just at that tight end position where it's like he was just so good at that position and so fun to watch but I would love to see him, but it's so hard, right? With that tight end position where you're just like, is that a first ballot Hall of Famer? I think he's like I said, he's one of my favorite players in that position.
As I look
and
at
is
the
that
stats
something we
more,
could see?
I think it's closer because I also at first I was like, man, it's going to be close, right? But then now that I look at it, he has the second most receiving yards of any tight end ever. He's got 3 less touchdowns than Kelce does right now. So, in that sense, he's above Antonio Gates in a lot of ways, not necessarily receiving touchdowns.
And Antonio Gates made it in this year.
Right, and that's kind of where I was going was with Gates getting in this year, I think it helps Witten going forward. And also, to me, Witten is... I brought this term up earlier in the week in security blanket, right? Mm-hmm. And I actually used it to talk about Lili Wahine Kapu. Sorry, I guess it's my fault she missed this game. But the first time I ever actually heard that term was on, the mothership, ESPN back in the day when I was like 7 years old. And they were talking about Jason Witten. They were talking about how the tight end position, it can be such a security blanket for a young quarterback and whatever. And Jason Witten is just your perfect guy that you want for anybody, whether it's Tony Romo, a young guy coming in, whatever. And now I take a step back, I think about it, and it's like, if you're the definition of security blanket, feels like you probably should get into it on the first ballot, right? So, yeah, no, what a loaded class for next year. I'm sure you haven't even gone through...
That's like just a portion.
Right, even like half of it.
So I'm going to read through the main ones here real quick. This was posted by Adam Schefter on Twitter. Again, first-time eligibles for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2026. We mentioned Fitzgerald, Drew Brees, Phillip Rivers, Jason Witten just now. Other ones on here, Frank Gore, Julian Edelman, Marquise Pouncey, LaShawn McCoy, Greg Olsen, Alex Smith. Alex Smith is just your overall like comeback player of the year if we're going to have one for sure. If we're talking kind of like Larry Fitzgerald, it's like, can there be like another Hall of Fame type of class of other accolades, right? And maybe not just purely football. You got Des Bryant in here. Let's see, Sean Lee, Todd Gurley. Wow, it's so crazy because Todd Gurley
legend.
is practically Hawaii resident now. Todd Gurley is there. Goskowski is on here, Geno Atkins. So, yeah, the list is loaded next year. But I think some of the main guys we talked about, it's going to be hard to keep them off, especially, like Drew Brees, Jason Witten, as we just mentioned, Larry Fitzgerald. The other ones, like Julian Edelman. This is Julian Edelman. If Edelman were to get in and Eli didn't, I would just be like, are you kidding me? Like that,
I'm there with you.
That would be a total, no, that cannot happen. Julian Edelman, maybe eventually, but not first time. I don't think there's really any debate. Half this list, maybe no debate on first timers, but I think you and I spoke about the main ones that we wouldn't be shocked if they made it on, and somewhat they deservedly so should be on the first time around. And Larry Fitzgerald, Drew Brees, Jason Witten. Are there any other ones that I kind of named off here that you think, maybe they could be first one, or you're looking at the rest as kind of like down the road? Because that's how I am. The rest of them, as much as I love Todd Gurley, it's like he had just such a short career.
That's my issue with Gurley is he was great, but it was such a shortened period of time. And for a lot of these guys, you're going to run into that, or you'll get they were good. They had a 2 or 3 year stretch where they were really, really good. Yeah. But it was it sucks because I struggle with the line of demarcation between the Hall of Fame and the Hall of Very Good. And it's I never want to disrespect Hall of Famers, but I also I think there are some guys who make the Hall of Very Good who deserve to get a little more recognition. So I don't know. Some of those are kind of in those tweener categories for me, you know?
We'll see what happens. And as always, it's just fun to talk about. Okay, going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will get back to some University of Hawaii sports and, talk about that phenomenal performance by the Rainbow Wahine basketball team without having Lily Wahine Kapu. I mean, it's just incredible how this team continues to roll, but also at the same time, incredible, but not shocking because all we do is win, baby. All right, we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ulei Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den, Ku'ulei Agbayani and Paul Brecht. Hey, hello, and shout out to our friend Alex in here in the chat on YouTube. I feel like we haven't seen Alex jump in on the YouTube in a while. Good morning, our friend that's all the way in Australia.
What is it? G'day, mate.
G'day, mate. He said the studio walls still look very vanilla. Yes,
Agreed.
they do. Because we are still waiting for this side, the sound panels on this side to be complete and to look like a giant soccer ball behind me before we can put up more of our flags and everything. But at least the one over here, like behind Paul, as you guys can see, that's what I mentioned, the giant soccer ball is like behind us. So only half of our studio has the sound stuff on. So once we get this side, then it won't look as vanilla. But yes, we are definitely working on it. And we were talking about Hall of Famers and first-time Hall of Famers next year. But Cesar Darrell Rivas is already in the Hall of Fame.
Yes.
A couple of years ago. So
don't you worry. I do love your passion, though, for Darrell Rivas, because that's my passion for Darrell Rivas. In answer to your question, I did see it in the chat. I grew up a massive Rivas Island fan. He's a big reason why I'm such a believer in defense winning championships in football, or defense winning you so many games in football, and why it's so important to have good corners is because I was blessed with the best one in the NFL and one of the best ones in NFL history. So big Rivas Island guy. Yeah, I think he got in a year, 2 years ago.
Recent.
It was very recent. And it was also during like that stretch where they've changed how they've done Hall of Fame stuff, where they used to have those like really, really cool videos. And I apologize, I forget the man's name who goes out and, welcome to football heaven, and those type of things. It's changed a little bit where they've had former players tell, other former players, their teammates, former teammates, and so on and so forth. So they've gotten a little less notoriety over the years as they've gotten the announcement and whatnot. So I I've seen plenty of people miss that as well. But yeah, Darrelle Revis is a Hall of Famer, and he went in as a New York Jet, and that is important to mention.
That is probably the most important thing to mention of all of it. And yes, it was 2023. He was inducted in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
It makes me feel better.
Yeah, it was
like a year
your memory's still sharp there, Paul. So good job.
Barely.
All right, we'll get back to some more football a little later in this hour, but I want to make sure we talk some University of Hawaii women's basketball as the Rainbow Wahine beating Cal Poly 67-43 last night at the stand. My, oh my. And as you mentioned earlier, that was without Lily Wahine Kapu, who has kind of been like their staple misconsistency player. She will always be the ones to even get your rebounds too. And it's like the fact that Hawaii, they did start off a little slow, but defense was there. I mean, that fourth quarter outscoring Cal Poly 25-14, but second and third quarter holding Cal Poly to less than 10 points in each quarter. I mean, we just can't sing the praises enough about this Rainbow Wahine basketball team. And it was a little worrisome, right? Cal Poly did have the lead after the first quarter, and you're thinking, all right, well, we don't have Lily. What's going to happen? How's this game going to play out? But with Lily not being there because she was sick, and seeing this team and other players step up. I mean, we were talking about it the other day where you have someone like Mia Uhila who's really finding herself and getting into the groove of things now with this team and fitting just fine. I mean, she scored 11 points and got the start. And this is another, not only not having Lily Wahine Kapu, but then you have one of your typical sharpshooters in Meilani McBee. She didn't score any points yesterday, but everybody else is able to step up. You had Jovi Lefotu scoring 15 points off the bench. Vittoria Tamilo, 13 points. And you had Mia and Brooklyn Ruers, 11 points apiece. And Brooklyn coming off of the bench. So just the depth and how much it's really spread out in this game. I mean, you had Kira May scoring a couple of points too, right? Playing down the stretch of the game. So just what this team has, I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore because it's in a good way. I feel like we sound like a broken record because we just can't stop singing the praises of this team.
Feels like we say the same thing over and over again, and it's not in a bad way.
And it's but at this time it feels different too because again, you didn't have Lily. And if you were to tell me before this season started that Hawaii would blow out Cal Poly 67-43 without Lily Wahine Kapu, I'm I would believe they'd win. I think they can win, but
keep a spade
blow out.
You told me at the beginning of the season without Deja Phillips and Lily Wahine Kapu, those are your two first team all conference type players, and Hawaii didn't skip a beat. Now, that's not true. First quarter, they skipped a beat a little bit. And that's, honestly, I don't even know if that's fair. They jumped out to a 7-2 lead, and then they just kind of went cold for the end of the quarter and whatnot. And from there, they put the vice grips on. You mentioned it. Jovi puts up a career-high 15 in just 17 minutes off the bench. I was shocked, by the way. Her career high before this game was 9 points. It felt like she had always, it felt like she had at least had a double-digit game before. Nope. This is the first time she's ever scored double figures in college. I think we can see that more as she continues. Obviously, unfortunately for her, had to deal with a bunch of injuries in her first couple of seasons at the collegiate level, but outstanding job by her. Brooklyn Ruer's growth. There's so much about this team. It's hard to keep it concise because you could go on and on, whether it's the starters, the depth, or the deep bench. All of them are contributing, and that's why you see them on a 10-game win streak, guys. This is the first time in, a decade, more than a decade, that they've won double-digit games in a row. They've had some pretty damn good teams in that time, too. And nonetheless, this is the one that seems to be taking the cake right now.
And I tweeted it last night. Because last night was Viva Las Vegas night was the theme. And I tweeted, I'm like, well, just over a month from now, we'll be up in Las Vegas watching this team. I'm bookmarking it, and I'm calling it now as if we didn't call it already in the beginning of the season, because if I wasn't confident more than ever with the fact that they were able to put up this performance without, again, Lily Wahine Kapu, we're going to be watching the Rainbow Wahine win the Big West tournament, right? It's just, and please nobody gets sick by that time either. Speaking of Jovi, though, and I wanted to share this, and I put it up just for our YouTube channel. Oh, wait, no, where is it?
Oh, no.
Because I saw the coolest photo there it is. I saw the coolest photo that was shared online from Hawaii Athletics, and this is the best photo ever of Jovi Lefotu. She's like smiling as she's gonna go, and I shared it on my social media too. And photo credit Hawaii Athletics, but I wish I knew who the photographer was because I love this photo so much. Because Jovi Lefotu is going in for a left-handed layup, and she has a smile, like the biggest smile on her face, looking up at the basket. Like, I don't think it's very reminiscent to like MJ and like the tongue out type of thing, but
I get what
Jovi,
you mean there.
like, she's like just knows, like she's like, it's the biggest smile, left-handed, and she's like looking at the basket like, this is so easy, this is going to go in. It's my favorite
That
photo.
picture is
it's so cute.
It's
And
an awesome picture.
this has to be like on her senior shirt. Like, someone save this because it's the photo that needs to go on her senior t-shirt, or just a general t-shirt. Like, we need to make that a t-shirt. Like, somebody make that photo a t-shirt. Again, I wish I knew who the actual photographer was because I want to give that person a shout out, but it is via Hawaii Athletics. And like I said, I just wanted to share that with all you guys because when I saw it, it put a big smile on my face. And I hope you guys watching on YouTube, it puts a smile on your face because it's just, it's a shareable photo. Just the biggest smile on Jovi Lefotu's face,
that
left-handed,
scoop.
underhand. Yeah,
so
it's like
that photo is the other side. If you go to the Rainbow Wahine Twitter page and the graphic they post, that's the other side of the photo of the bench of what has them going like this in that picture. So a little behind the scenes action for you guys, for those of you who weren't in the building last night.
I love it. All right, well, want to let you guys hear just real quick on what they had to say after the game yesterday. So let's start off with head coach Laura Beeman.
I thought our second half was impressive. I thought first half we were a little bit out of sorts, not having Lily on the floor. You know, Lily does a lot for us offensively, but I don't think anyone recognizes what she does first on the boards. She's a hustle player. She gets a lot of boards first. She gives us a lot of juice because she can rebound and run. And I think we just had to kind of figure out that we were going to be just fine without her. Different people stepped up. I thought Brooklyn Roars had a great second half. I thought Jovi was tremendous with her efficiency, and Mia stepping in and doing what she did, just kind of getting us into some things and the defense that she gave us. But I think it's nice that once again we're not fully loaded and we're just able to get things done and someone else steps up for this program.
You mentioned the rebounding, Coach. Was that the biggest change, or were there other things that you saw defensively in that second quarter and specifically, and even further in that second half, that flipped for you guys' defense?
Intensity, period. When we play with intensity and focus, we're very, very good. And we did not have intensity and focus. We had a little uncertainty. Doesn't mean they don't want to win, but when you're uncertain and you're trying to think out there, we don't move our feet well when we're thinking. We need to go out and trust our process, trust who we are, and in the second half they showed exactly who they are. So it came down to intensity. We entered the locker room, I think, with they had 10 or 11 offensive boards and finished the game with 3 or 4 more. So we know who we are. We just got to play that way all the time.
You mentioned BK in your opening statement there. It seems as the year has gone on, she's become a little bit slower in her process when she catches down low. And can you talk a little bit about her growth as a post player? We knew she could stretch the floor. We knew she had that talent, but we've really kind of seen her finishings start to go up another level over these past few weeks.
Yeah, I think it's believing in the process. She was not happy with the way she played in the first half, and it was kind of a challenge of, you had a really bad first half, what do you want to do with the second half? And teams know she can stretch the floor, so she has to figure out how to make herself an asset to us when she can't stand on the perimeter and shoot threes. And that's by getting on the block, and we call it popping the pad. And she hit people hard tonight, and that's what she has to be able to do. And when she draws now, because what's going to happen is when she puts the ball in the bounce, now she's going to draw attention. It's just coming. She's going to have to be able to, the next area of growth is get off the ball to the person that's open, and then they have to be shot ready. And it's either she reestablishes, pops the pad, or we're going to go up with that thing. Our three-point shooting percentage is not good right now. So the fact that we're getting more attempts from the free throw line, getting more twos, getting more paint touches, we have to continue to work that until our threes kind of get back on track.
You guys had 19 turnovers tonight, but despite that, you only give up 8 points off of them. Conversely, you guys, turned them over 19 times, scored 22 points off of that. Talk a little bit about the turnover battle and, even despite not necessarily having the best night of ball control, still being able to get back defensively and not necessarily let it hurt you.
I think that was a big talk in halftime. It's like limit turnovers, also our rebounding, but just knowing like if we do turn it over, like get it back on the next play, like next play mentality, I think was really big for us, and just getting us off and deep.
And that was the University of Hawaii women's basketball postgame, just a portion of it and what they had to say following that big 67-43 win last night over Cal Poly. And tomorrow, back in action to host UC Santa Barbara. And Scott chiming in here on our YouTube chat, Wahine will get their revenge against UCSB tomorrow night. When they lost the first time they played, there was no Jovi, Imani, and Kelsey. They're back now, so watch out. 11 in a row. Yes, let's go. 11 in a row. Keep that win streak going, and 100%. And now that we've seen what they're able to do without Lily, but still, like mentioned, still will have those other players that weren't there the first time around against Santa Barbara. It's going to be a fun time. Hope you guys come out. And just to remind everybody that when Hawaii again lost in the official start of Big West, because I know they played Long Beach State in Bode Week, but
I feel so weird about how I talk about it.
Yeah,
right, because it's split.
The Big West started, but I know they.
And I'm gonna have to do the same damn thing with the men's volleyball team, because they're gonna play Irvine, and then they have 4 or 5 matches straight against non-Big West schools. It's
yeah, don't do that to us. No, but Hawaii did lose to open up the main part of the Big West conference slate, 72-62 at UCSB. So I'm there with you, Scott. They're gonna get revenge on the Gauchos tomorrow because they. Sorry, I'm chuckling because I just remembered we didn't have it there in the post game. I should have probably get you guys so you guys realize why we always talk about how Coach Beeman answers questions about the availability of players, because she was asked about Lily Wahine Kapu, and was it Justin that asked it, or somebody asked about Lily and whether Lily will be playing on Saturday?
Dave Reardon. Dave Reardon
asked it, but she did. Laura was like, come on, why are you asking me this?
It was funny.
And no other media member, is going to ask, because we
all
know.
smiled.
Yeah, everyone's
everybody knew it's a question that needs to be asked, but it also is one that we know what the answer is going to be. So it's who's going to bite the bullet? And thankfully, Dave is the one. And Jovi, for those of you who might be concerned, you might be hearing this and be like, well, what's the update on Lily? The update, which is not much of an update, it's what everybody would have assumed. Lily is the one who was most frustrated about not playing. She's under the weather. If she can give it a go on Saturday, she's going to give it a go. If she can't, she won't. And it'll be another day that we see the depth of the rainbow Wahine need to step up. And luckily, kind of like Scott mentioned, a little less of the depth has been depleted this time, it feels like. So hopefully you could be able to make up for the loss of Lily for another game, if that ends up being the case. And if not, man, we are full go for a massive matchup on Saturday.
Yeah, so we hope to see you guys out there tonight for men's volleyball, and then tomorrow night for women's basketball against UC Santa Barbara, 7:00 p.m. And it is Black History Month / Queen Bee celebration. Pay no mind to the dancing girl in the corner. I'm all about Queen Bee and the Beyonce song, so that'll be a fun time, and I hope you guys come out and support this Rainbow Wahine team and see them increase their win streak again to 11.
Going for snake eyes, baby.
Let's go.
It's the year of the snake, right? Snake eyes. See?
There we go. We're tying back in there. Good job, Paul. All right. Well, we'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to all of you, the beautifulest of all the beautiful people. It's Wake Up in the Den. Alongside Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for tuning in on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network and watching on our YouTube channel right now as well, or watching or listening on demand. We appreciate all of you guys that tune in and interact with us too on the live chat, and also text in at 808-888-KGU1. That's 808-888-5481. And speaking of a text, this is funny. The opening to that Fun Factory spot made me think Ku'ule stubbed her toe or something before you guys had a chance to cut the mics.
And it's funny because as soon as we went to break, I said, that's a crazy commercial to go to directly after the conversation that we just had and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it was like, I love that somebody texted.
It's so true. And
man.
hey, it's a commercial that works because it kind of like makes you pay attention, right? So that is that's hilarious. That Fun Factory commercial is funny. So be sure, hey, good Valentine's Day. There you go. Get out to Fun
reminder.
Factory. Yeah. But at the same time, and I'm going to steal your line that you said going to break, Paul, time to rip the Band-Aid off, and luckily we only have a few minutes to talk about it, and that's pretty much I didn't make that sound stubbing my toe, but essentially the sound I made watching the men's basketball team yesterday, and it's, that's exactly how I feel like watching the men's basketball team yesterday, especially Cal Poly just not missing, and then Hawaii missing everything. Again, Cal Poly beating Hawaii 79-63 for just their, third win in the Big West Conference. But Cal Poly very much turning a corner, new head coach, right? Like they're not, because this is like the first time Hawaii's lost to Cal Poly in like forever, but they are turning a corner. So I know it's easy to be like, oh my gosh, at Cal Poly, but we talk about it all the time, right? Like coaching matters and everything. And I know on the flip side, a lot of people in the comments, in the hot seat question, obviously, and I know how fans are getting frustrated. This was definitely one of those really frustrating games, but I think there's not a ton to talk about. One, it's just depressing talking about a loss, especially to Cal Poly, especially a big loss, again, 79-63. But when you're just watching the game and this was like, even in the first half, it was reminiscent to Long Beach State, where it's like they're just throwing up threes and it's falling. And you're just like, well, all right, well, what are you gonna do in that situation? But it was tough though for fans to really watch down the stretch. I mean, you had Gitas Namiksha scoring 13 points off the bench to lead the Rainbow Warriors in scoring. Ryan Rapp put up 10. But it was just a tough one to watch. I mean, Hawaii shooting 43% in the game from the field, and then to their credit with Cal Poly, they shot 51%, including 11 for 31 from long distance, compared to Hawaii just making 6 of their 3-pointers. So just a little indication in terms of statistics, how that game, the stats pretty much entirely how it felt watching that game. You're like, they're just not missing. Hawaii is, and exactly like the Fun Factory commercial.
Yeah. Last night's final 8 minutes were really hard to watch. Because every miss felt like another portion of air had been let out of the balloon, and you go, and eventually it's like, wow, this was so deflating. Frustrating. I don't think there's another word for this type of loss, and you mentioned it before. This is a Cal Poly team that's starting to flip things around with a really good head coach who is setting a culture in his first year over there. I think he's doing a great job. They've won 3 of their last 4 games, and they took down Long Beach State, who have given plenty of issues to other people, including Hawaii. They took down Cal State Bakersfield, who is the most confusing team in the Big West this year, other than Hawaii, I think. And they're starting to piece it together. They've got some really solid role players. They've got a quality. They have an identity. I mean, let's just say that, right? They know who they are. They know how they're going to play. They are aggressive from behind the 3-point line. They are going to play fast. They are feisty. They're gritty, all of those things, because they don't necessarily have the talent of a UC Irvine, of a UC San Diego, of a UC Davis, or anything of those matters. But they do have some guys who can really get buckets, and they've got a lot of guys who really, really care. I think the reason I am most disappointed by the loss last night is it just looked like one team wanted it more. Like this was a game that Cal Poly needed. Like Cal Poly looks at it and they want to get into the Big West tournament to end the year. They have had a horrible last couple of seasons. They have been in the depths. Any fans who know what it's like to be in the depths of any sport, of any division, of anything, anywhere, knows it sucks. It feels bad to be the doormat. So they just want to get back. You could see that hunger in the second half. Oh my goodness. The defense was phenomenal, held the Bows below 40% shooting. Their offense was great. They got into the paint whenever they wanted. They got excellent looks whenever they wanted. Their best player stepped up and was their best player in the second half. Owen Kuntz, silent in the first half almost. Second half, bucket after bucket after bucket. Nobody could stop him. It's frustrating because it just felt like it's not like we have less talent. It's not like we have a worse coaching staff. It's not like we have all of the, it's frustrating because that's a game you should win, you need to win, and when I say need to win, I don't necessarily mean in terms of the standings, blah, 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 you're competing for the top of the Big West. No, you're not. You need it to get in. You need it to gain confidence on the way, to start the momentum. We talked so much about last year, they were 4-6, or they're 2-6, and then they flipped everything around and whatever. Yeah, because the vibes changed. The vibes changed. That starting lineup switched things up. The bench switched things up. Everything started to click into place, and they started to win games. They made the ascent up the Big West. It doesn't feel that way this year, and I don't know why. There are different reasons you can point to. This one, the final 8 minutes, you didn't score the basketball, and you gave up bucket after bucket. You need to stop with the droughts, and they've talked about it so many times and whatever. I'm sick of hearing, we know we can't have the droughts. We know you can't have the droughts. Stop them then. Figure it out. You have different resources. We've played 10 guys throughout the year, these 10-man rotations or something. You try and go to the bench or whatever. There's got to be some sort of answers that you've seen. I know this. People are going to hear this and be like, you're biased or whatever. I watch Aaron Hunkenclater, and when they are out there, they do not go into those same ruts. They do not run in those same offensive ruts. And listen, you can say what you want about defense. You can say whatever about the defense. The defense has been the identity for Hawaii for a long, long time. You should be able to look at a stretch in the game when your offense is struggling and be like, I need to plug in what I know will get us a few buckets. Get out in transition. Run more. God, we are so slow. I am so sick of the pace.
Oh, yeah.
Can we get a rebound, the ball gets into Aaron's hands or Cody's hands, and we'll start to go up the court, and it's a jog. It's a jog. As soon as Aaron or Cody or whoever the point guard is going to be at that moment catches the ball, he should have two guys flying down the wings, down each side, so he can hit them with an outlet pass, pitch ahead pass, and then you get an advantage. 2-on-2, 2-on-1 breaks. All of a sudden, 1-on-1. Any Division I basketball player would kill for a one-on-one opportunity, one person in front of them, between them and the rim. Any good Division I basketball player. We've got some of those. Get out in transition. Run some more. Stop the droughts. Because, listen, I know the defense can be played, right? That's been the foundation, the culture, the blah, 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 all of it. And it's great. Defense wins championships. Everybody knows that. But for God's sake, can we play a little faster? Can you take the answers that you have found previously and try to put them actually into place instead of just trying to guess and guess and guess and guess throughout the night and then get your butt kicked on the road to start a tough and much needed road trip where you probably needed 2-0. You really would have liked you really need 1-1. Really would have liked 2-0. You can't have 0-2.
Yeah, and I think that's the unfortunate part, right? I talked about this on Wednesday where it's like, all right, Cal Poly is very much the winnable game, but playing at UC Santa Barbara is a little bit of the more daunting task as they're going to face tomorrow. And now you drop that game to Cal Poly. Now, as you mentioned, it's looking a little daunting as if Hawaii's going to come back with a pair of losses on the road. Hawaii losing to UC Santa Barbara here at home earlier in the conference season, 64-61. So can still very much compete. Again, we would talk about AJ Mitchell all the time, and obviously they don't have him anymore because he's kind of in that, that one league that all the best players go to. But they are still a quality team that is well coached. And this is where, you wanted Hawaii. And at least, like you said, I agree with you with the pace. And I think the most frustrating thing talking about the pace of which they play and how they just slow it down too many times is in the beginning of the season, they talked about their goal was to push the pace. Like Aron Ganot said that. And we got excited. We're like, yeah, because that's what Hawaii needs to do. Because we would talk about it last year. It's like, they need to push the pace against some of these teams, like push when you transition on offense. And I mean, I think
we just don't have good enough offensive players to play in the half court all the time.
I know this is apples to oranges, but it's like when we watch Kahuku girls basketball, right?
Sure.
Like once they get a rebound, like they're going, they're flying down, and like it's like, and again, I know it's just the example that popped into my head because that's what I want to see when I watch our team play. It's like, whoa, they're jamming. And sometimes there is good reason to set up, you kind of read the defense and you slow it down, you pull it back. That's going to happen. But it feels like way more times than not, you're just like push. And it's like, let's dribble it up slowly and wait for everyone to get up there.
We do not have good enough offensive players who can go get their own basket in the half court if we play slow 75% of the game. We just aren't good enough. We don't have enough players. Akira's developing that. Gitas has moments, right? You have guys who, Marcus Green can go on a 10-point scoring stretch or whatever, but none of it's consistent. You can't rely on that. So you have to find another reliable form of offense. That is a transition offense. That's why it's so frustrating here.
Well, and then you look at it.
You have the people.
You look at a team like CSUN, right? And I know they're crazy athletic compared to our team, but their athleticism makes them play at this crazy pace that they're just like every time they get the basketball, they're flying down the court. And they're like, yeah, Hawaii doesn't have the same athleticism, but they have talent. And like how Paul said, like you should be able to do these like quicker transitions and not just play like so slow all the time because on the flip side, the team has to stay off of their heels too and try to defend that. It's harder to defend. And like we're former basketball players, it's much harder to get into your defensive set and defend when the team is just transitioning and getting on you because then you don't have time to pick up your man. You're just going to grab the closest man to you. Sometimes that'll cause a mismatch, which is like you want to see.
To your principles
so you're
as
like
much.
Scrambling, and then if the defense is asleep, that leads to scoring, which is what we need. So it's just, it's getting really frustrating to just watch, especially a game like yesterday. And we will give Cal Poly their flowers and how they are much improved. And I think we will see them
on their
improve.
way up.
But they're not up there yet. Hawaii is still the better team. And that's why it was unfortunate. And wanting to split on the road, Cal Poly, I think, and not saying that they can't beat Santa Barbara tomorrow, of course, is why they play the games. I think
pigeonholed yourself.
But you got to at least start off with that win. And then now the UC Santa Barbara game is even more, as if it wasn't already, a must-win game at UCSB, a team that is a bit more established than Cal Poly. So, but anyways, that game tomorrow at 5 o'clock p.m. and you can watch it on ESPN+. Going to take a break. When we come back, we'll close things out with some Super Bowl chatter and just have some fun here to take you through the Super Bowl weekend. We'll be right back on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network.
Back to more Wake Up in the Den with Ku'ule Agbayani on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM and AM 760.
Welcome back to Wake Up in the Den. Ku'ule Agbayani and Paul Brecht on the Hawaii Sports Radio Network, 95.1 FM, AM 760, and hawaiisportsradio.com. Well, Super Bowl weekend. I can't believe it's the end of football season already.
It's here.
It's going to be fun. And other things that are fun, obviously, Super Bowl parties. Hope you guys have your parties set. Make sure if you partake in any adult beverages, you are being safe out there. Just like crash on your friend's couch or whatnot if you drove there. If not, take an Uber if it's close by. And you want to just make sure you enjoy your time at your Super Bowl party. So make sure you guys stay safe and stuff your face for sure. That's always the best part about Super Bowl parties is the food and everything that goes into it. Some of the fun things, let's see, that are going on. So the national anthem prop bet is 120 and a half seconds. Just over 2 minutes.
Over.
So that's a fun one. I know it's so funny with the national anthem and coin toss prop bets because it's like all this money will get wagered on the Super Bowl when it's not even anything to do with the game. This is so funny. What will happen first? A touchdown or Taylor Swift live shot? So the touchdown is minus 150. They're a little sprinkle. So touchdown is minus 150. Taylor Swift live shot is plus 110. So you get plus money on the Taylor Swift live shot.
That is the easiest money of my life.
I'm assuming it's kickoff because obviously they're probably going to show her like in the pregame, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, maybe
the
after
first
kickoff.
Travis Kelce 20-yard rumble on a catch and run. They are going to Taylor going ballistic in her box next to whoever it is she may be sitting next to that day. That's a free money for me. I would sprinkle, if I could, I would sprinkle on that immediately.
The coin toss, though, speaking of, is heads took 3 of the past 4 meetings.
Tails is due.
So, yeah, Tails is set to respond or not tomorrow, Sunday, which is another interesting one. But just about a minute left here. Paul, what are your Super Bowl plans for Sunday?
I'll be hanging out with the wife. It'll be a real nice time. Excited. She's going to probably make some sort of spread. She's really enjoying cooking lately, so excited for that. I don't know where my voice is going here to close out the show, but it's cool.
It was your rant in the previous.
Clearly. Goodness. Yeah, that'll be about it. A couple of friends potentially over. Maybe go to some other place because I know some people have cat allergies or whatever. But yeah, that'll be it. It'll be a fun, mostly relaxed day. I'll enjoy the game. You?
Still, I don't know. The jury's still on what their plans will be. I'm debating if I'm going to drive out to Kapolei area to go to the block party by my cousin's house and all of the neighbors out there. So maybe we'll see some of you guys out in Kapolei. I don't know, but hoping for a good game. We're going to go Eagles, and we got to go. Paul Brecht, I'm Ku'ule Agbayani. Mahalo for listening and watching. Bye!
1, 2, 3. Your home for you.